Welcome back to this time we're going to be exploring Aldous Huxley's Brave New World,
Ooh, very nice.
a classic.
Yeah, we know you're not coming in blind here.
Right.
Um, whether you're prepping for a deep discussion or just revisiting this classic from it. The question we're tackling today is, why does this book still feel so relevant almost a century after it was written?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of the things that's so striking about Brave New World is that Huxley wasn't just predicting the future, he was really dissecting the present.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the seeds of our modern world back in the 1930s, the
Wow.
worship of technology, the creeping influence of mass media. He even drew inspiration from figures like Henry Ford,
Oh, interesting.
whose assembly line became a model not just for cars, but for human beings in this dystopia.
It's almost like he looked at the assembly line and thought, what if we applied this to human life?
Right.
Which is
Yeah.
a pretty chilling thought when you consider how the world state creates these batches of genetically engineered people, each destined for a specific role in society. Yeah, and that's where I think Huxley's background as an essayist and critic comes in. He wasn't just telling a story, he was engaging in social commentary.
Mhm.
He was dissecting the trends of his time, like the rise of behaviorism,
Right.
the idea that we're all just products of our conditioning.
Okay, so let's talk about how that plays out in the book.
Okay,
We see this society that's obsessed with stability and happiness,
right.
which they achieve through some pretty unsettling methods. I mean, they literally engineer people to fit into these rigid social classes.
Yeah, it's really disturbing when you think about it. And let's not forget hypnopedia.
Oh, yeah, sleep teaching.
Sleep teaching. Yeah,
Yeah.
they use it to instill values like consumerism and class divisions right from childhood.
Wow.
It's almost like a precursor to the targeted advertising and algorithms we see today,
Mhm.
shaping our desires and beliefs without us even realizing it.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how much of what we think and want is truly our own and how much is a product of the information we're constantly bombarded with.
It's a great question, and it's a little unsettling when you really start to think about it.
It is unsettling.
Yeah.
For sure. And that brings us to, I think, another key element of the world state's control,
Okay.
soma,
Yes.
this wonder drug that seems like a dream come true.
Right.
At first,
At first glance.
no side effects,
Yeah.
just pure blissful contentment.
Right.
But it's ultimately a tool for suppressing dissent and keeping everyone docile.
Totally. It's the ultimate escape from reality, but at what cost?
Right. This brings to mind, like, the debates we have now about, antidepressant use, the rise of comfort culture, and the ways we avoid facing difficult emotions.
Exactly. Huxley forces us to ask, are we really living if we're constantly numbed?
Right.
Is there value in experiencing the full spectrum of human emotions, even the painful ones?
Yeah.
And what are our modern day somas? Are
Yeah.
we turning to things like social media or mindless entertainment to avoid discomfort,
Hmm.
even if it's just temporarily?
It's a question worth pondering for
Yeah.
sure. But, the book isn't just about these overarching systems of control.
Right.
It's also about individual struggle,
Yeah,
especially through the character of John the Savage.
of course.
Here's this outsider who grew up on a reservation exposed to literature and values that are completely alien to the world state.
Right. John represents a challenge to the world state's idea of perfection. He's messy, he's passionate, he experiences the depths of despair, but also the heights of joy.
Yeah.
His very existence undermines their belief that happiness can be manufactured and controlled.
And I think his struggle to reconcile his own values with the world state's ideology is something a lot of us can relate to,
Absolutely.
even if we're not, fighting against a dystopian government.
Right.
We all face those moments where we feel like outsiders,
Yeah.
torn between wanting to fit in and wanting to stay true to ourselves.
Absolutely. And it's in those moments of conflict that we truly define who we are.
Yeah.
Do we conform to expectations, even if it means sacrificing our individuality? Or do we forge our own path, even if it means facing rejection or hardship?
That's a pretty powerful question, and it's something that Huxley really forces us to grapple with.
Totally.
It's not just about this futuristic society. It's about the choices we make every day,
Yeah.
the compromises we're willing to make,
Right.
and the values we choose to prioritize.
I think what's most fascinating is that Huxley doesn't offer any easy answers.
Right.
He's not advocating for a return to some romanticized past
Yeah.
or prescribing a specific solution for the future. He's simply holding up a mirror, forcing us to confront these uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the societies we create.
Which brings us to another key theme in Brave New World, the idea of family.
Okay.
In the world state, family is considered obsolete,
Right.
even dangerous.
Dangerous.
They believe it breeds instability and jealousy.
Mm.
They've essentially eliminated traditional families by creating humans in labs,
Right.
removing the need for parents altogether.
It's a chilling thought, isn't it?
It is. It raises questions about the changing dynamics of family in our own time.
Yeah.
Are we losing something essential as we move towards more individualized and less traditional family structures? Or is it simply a natural evolution as society progresses?
It's complex.
It's a complex issue, and I think Huxley's vision prompts us to really consider the potential trade-offs we're making.
Yeah.
Are we sacrificing genuine connection for the sake of convenience or self-reliance?
Right.
And what are the long-term consequences of prioritizing efficiency and control over the messiness of human relationships?
That's one something to think about.
It is. It's interesting because in the world state they have community, but it's a manufactured, controlled community stripped of any real depth or meaning.
Right. It's all surface level.
Right.
Like a carefully curated social media feed
Yeah.
where everyone's pretending to be happy and fulfilled all the time.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of the most paradoxical aspects of Huxley's dystopia, the concept of mandatory happiness.
Yes. Everyone is seemingly happy.
Right.
But it's a shallow, manufactured happiness. They've eliminated suffering, but in doing so, they've also eliminated genuine joy, love, and even the capacity for personal growth.
It makes you wonder, can happiness be genuine if it's forced upon you?
Right.
If you've never experienced sadness, can you truly appreciate joy?
It's a thought-provoking question and one that's very relevant to our own time.
Mhm.
Are we so focused on chasing happiness that
Mhm.
we're missing out on the full spectrum of human experience?
Right.
Are we afraid to confront our darker emotions even though they might hold valuable lessons? And is our modern obsession with positivity and self-optimization leading us down a path where we're avoiding anything that might disrupt our carefully curated sense of well-being?
That's a great point. It's almost like we've created our own versions of soma in the form of distractions, quick fixes, and anything that promises to numb us from the uncomfortable realities of life.
Exactly. And that's where the real challenge lies.
Yeah.
It's not about eliminating negativity altogether,
Right.
but about embracing the full complexity of being human with all its messiness and contradictions.
Right.
It's about recognizing that true happiness doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from engaging with life in all its fullness, even when it's difficult.
And that brings us back to John the Savage, who embodies this struggle in such a poignant way.
Yes.
He's both drawn to the world state's promise of ease and pleasure,
Right.
but ultimately repelled by its shallowness and lack of depth.
Yeah.
He craves something more, something real, even if it means experiencing pain and heartbreak.
And his rebellion, while ultimately tragic, serves as a powerful reminder that even in the most seemingly controlled societies, the human spirit can't be completely extinguished. There's always that possibility for resistance, for seeking out truth and authenticity, even when it's dangerous.
John's conflict is something I think a lot of our listeners can connect to.
Totally.
That tension between wanting to belong, to be accepted,
Yeah.
but also wanting to be true to ourselves, even if it means going against the grain.
It's a universal struggle, and in a world that's increasingly focused on conformity and instant gratification, it's more important than ever to remember that there's value in questioning the status quo, in embracing our individuality, and in seeking out those experiences that make us feel truly alive, even if they're not always easy or pleasant.
That's such a powerful thought, and it really gets to the heart of what makes Brave New World so enduring. It's not just a dystopian novel, it's a reflection on the human condition. A timeless exploration of our deepest desires and the choices we make in the face of societal pressures and personal longings.
And it's a reminder that the future is not predetermined. It's something we actively shape through our choices, our values, and our actions. We have the power to create the world we want to live in, but it requires us to be aware, to be engaged, and to be willing to challenge the systems that seek to control us.
So as we delve deeper into Brave New World in this deep dive, let's keep these ideas in mind.
Okay.
Let's explore how Huxley's vision of the future reflects our own present, and let's consider how we can use his insights to make more conscious choices about the kind of world we want to create.
I think that's a great approach. And as we continue this discussion, let's also remember that there's no single right way to interpret Brave New World.
Okay.
You know, the beauty of great literature is that it sparks different thoughts and interpretations in each reader. So as we explore these themes, let's be open to different perspectives, to challenging our own assumptions, and to finding our own meaning in Huxley's work. One thing that really struck me as I was revisiting the source material is how Huxley uses satire to expose the absurdities of the world state's ideology.
Okay.
Take their motto, for instance: community, identity, stability.
Right, like who would want those things?
On the surface, it sounds appealing, almost noble, right?
Yeah.
But Huxley cleverly twists these concepts, showing how they can be distorted and manipulated to serve the interests of those in power.
It's almost like he's saying, be careful what you wish for.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
even the most well-intentioned ideals can be twisted into tools of oppression.
Exactly. And it's not just the motto. The whole society is built on these contradictions.
Right.
You know, they claim to value happiness above all else.
Yeah.
But their version of happiness is so superficial and manufactured.
It's almost like they've taken the idea of positive thinking to its extreme.
Right.
To the point where it becomes this oppressive force that denies the validity of any other emotion.
And that's where the danger lies, you know, because when we deny the full spectrum of human experience, when we try to suppress the so-called negative emotions, we end up creating a society that's emotionally stunted and incapable of genuine connection.
It brings us back to John, who represents the antithesis of the world state's ideology.
Exactly. He's all those things they've tried to eliminate.
Right.
Passion, individuality, the capacity for deep suffering, but also profound joy.
And it's interesting because even though John rejects the world state's values, he's not completely immune to its allure.
Right. He's drawn to the ease and pleasure they offer.
Right.
But ultimately realizes that it comes at too high a price, the price of his soul, his individuality.
It's like that classic dilemma.
Yeah.
Would you choose a life of blissful ignorance or a life of painful awareness?
Right.
John chooses the latter, and while it leads to tragedy, it also makes him a heroic figure in a way.
Definitely his rebellion, even though it fails, serves as a reminder that the human spirit can't be completely crushed.
Right.
There's always that potential for resistance, for seeking out truth and authenticity, even in the face of overwhelming odds.
And it's not just John.
Right.
There are other characters in the book who also question the world state's ideology.
Of course.
Like Bernard Marx and Helmholtz Watson. They might not be as radical as John.
Right.
But they represent those cracks in this seemingly perfect facade of the world state.
Exactly. They show us that even within this seemingly homogenous society, there are individuals who yearn for something more, who sense that something is missing from their lives, even if they can't quite articulate it.
It's like that innate human desire for meaning, for purpose, for something that transcends the material comforts and superficial pleasures that the world state offers.
And I think that's one of the reasons why Brave New World continues to resonate with readers today. You know, because even though the specific technologies and social structures Huxley describes might seem futuristic, the underlying themes, the desire for happiness, the fear of pain, the tension between individual freedom and societal control, those are timeless and universal.
It's like he tapped into something fundamental about human nature. Something that transcends time and place. And I think that's why his warnings about the dangers of technology consumerism and the pursuit of happiness at all costs still feels so relevant, even urgent in our modern world.
Absolutely. We might not have Soma or Hypnopedia in the literal sense, but we certainly have our own versions of these things.
We have social media that can be addictive and manipulative. We have entertainment that can be used to distract us from reality.
Of course.
And we have a culture that often prioritizes instant gratification over long-term fulfillment.
It's almost like we're living in a milder version of the world state. You know, we're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us to consume, to conform, to be happy all the time. And it can be hard to resist those messages. Especially when they're so pervasive and so seductive.
And that's where the challenge lies, I think.
I think so, too.
It's not about rejecting technology or pleasure altogether. It's about using them consciously. About being aware of their potential pitfalls. And about making choices that align with our values.
It's about finding that balance
Yes.
between enjoying the benefits of modern life without sacrificing our individuality,
Right.
our critical thinking skills, or our capacity for genuine connection.
Exactly. And it's a constant balancing act.
It is.
There's no easy answer, no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
But I think the first step is simply being aware of the forces that are shaping our thoughts, our desires, and our behaviors.
I think one of the ways we can do that is by engaging with art and literature that challenges us, that makes us think critically,
Right.
and that helps us see the world from different perspectives.
It's about using those works of art as a mirror to reflect on our own lives.
Yes.
Our own societies and our own choices.
And Brave New World is definitely a powerful mirror.
It is.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most striking things about the book is how Huxley manages to combine these big ideas about society and technology with these intimate portraits of individual characters who are struggling to make sense of their lives, their relationships, and their place in the world.
And it's those individual stories that really resonate with us,
Right.
that make the bigger themes more relatable and more impactful.
It's like Huxley is saying, look, this isn't just some abstract philosophical debate. This is about real people, real lives, and the choices we make every day.
And those choices matter.
They do.
They have consequences.
Absolutely.
Not just for ourselves, but for the world around us.
Exactly. And I think that's the ultimate message of Brave New World. It's not just a warning, it's a call to action.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we have the power to shape the future.
Right.
But it requires us to be awake, to be engaged, and to be willing to fight for the values we believe in.
And it starts with asking ourselves some tough questions.
Yeah.
What are we willing to sacrifice for comfort, for convenience, for the illusion of happiness? What are the things that are truly important to us?
Right.
And what are we willing to do to protect those things?
Those are powerful questions, and I think the answers will be different for each individual.
Right.
But the important thing is that we're asking them, that we're engaging in this critical self-reflection and examining the world around us with a discerning eye.
And maybe, just maybe, by doing so, we can avoid sleepwalking into our own version of Brave New World. It strikes me, as we're talking about this, that one of the most unsettling aspects of Brave New World is how casually it presents these horrific ideas.
Yeah.
Like the way they talk about decanting babies instead of giving birth.
Right?
It's chilling.
It's that detachment, that clinical coldness that makes it all the more disturbing. Huxley doesn't shy away from showing us the dehumanizing aspects of the world state's ideology.
Right.
He wants us to feel uncomfortable, to question the assumptions that underpin this seemingly utopian society.
And that discomfort is what makes us think, right?
I think so.
It forces us to confront the implications of these ideas, to see where they could lead if taken to their logical extreme, which is, I think, part of Huxley's genius.
Right.
He doesn't preach or moralize. He simply presents this world with all its flaws and contradictions and lets the reader draw their own conclusions.
And that's what makes Brave New World so much more than just a sci-fi novel.
Right.
It's a work of social commentary, a philosophical exploration of what it means to be human in a world that's increasingly driven by technology,
Right.
efficiency, and the pursuit of pleasure.
It's a reminder that progress isn't always linear, that sometimes the things we think will make us happy can actually lead to our own undoing.
Yeah, and that's a lesson that's more relevant than ever in our own time.
Yeah.
We're surrounded by technology that promises to make our lives easier, more efficient, more connected.
Right.
But we have to be mindful of the potential downsides, the ways in which those technologies can also be used to manipulate us,
Yeah.
to control us, to distract us from what's truly important.
It's like that old saying, the devil's in the details. We can get so caught up in the shiny new gadgets and the promises of a better future that we forget to ask the hard questions.
Yeah.
The ethical questions, the questions about what kind of world we're actually creating.
And that's where I think literature can play such a vital role. It can help us step back to see the bigger picture, to question the assumptions we often take for granted.
Right.
And Brave New World does that in such a brilliant and unsettling way.
It's like a wake-up call, a warning from the past that still resonates deeply in the present.
Totally.
And I think the question we're left with is this: how do we take those warnings seriously without succumbing to despair or cynicism?
That's a great question. And I think the answer lies in remembering that we have agency. We have the power to choose to resist, to create a different kind of future.
Right.
It's not about rejecting technology or progress altogether.
Right.
It's about using them wisely, ethically, and with a deep awareness of their potential impact on ourselves and the world around us.
It's about being mindful, being intentional, being engaged citizens who are willing to speak up and challenge the systems that threaten our values and our humanity.
And it's about remembering that true happiness doesn't come from external sources.
Right.
Or from numbing ourselves to pain.
Yeah.
It comes from living authentically, from connecting with others in meaningful ways, and from finding purpose and meaning in something larger than ourselves.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Brave New World, I want to leave our listeners with a few final thoughts. First, don't underestimate the power of this book. It's not just a story. It's a mirror reflecting our own anxieties, our own desires, and our own potential for both good and evil.
Right.
Second, don't be afraid to engage with the uncomfortable questions it raises.
Yeah.
They're the questions that will lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world we live in. And finally, remember that we have a choice. We can choose to be passive consumers, swept along by the currents of technology and consumerism, or we can choose to be active creators, shaping a future that aligns with our values and our vision for a more just and humane world. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Brave New World. We hope it sparked some thought-provoking conversations and inspired you to continue exploring the themes and ideas that make this book so enduring and relevant, even in our modern world.
Hi, Thinker Society. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel, The Art of Reflection, for more engaging content. Don't forget to give it a like if you found it helpful or inspiring, and leave a comment to share your thoughts or let me know what you'd like to see in the next video. Your support means so much and helps me keep creating.